This is a pod. A pod about dogs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Dog Pod. It's Sophie and Ian as always.
Hello.
And today we have a special guest in. We have Iyona.
Hi everyone.
She is from the Bondi Behaviourist team.
She is from.
I love it.
Fun.
I didn't even know I did that. Amazing. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Well, it probably won't be, but we know you too well.
See what I have to put up with.
Iona's been working with us for how long now? Like 3 years, three and a half years?
I think 3 years.
Yeah.
Just over, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting 3 years.
Leave that open to interpretation.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm still here, so.
Good sign, good sign.
So talk us through a bit of your history when you're working with dogs. Don't go into your personal history. Tell us a bit about your history working with dogs and what you're up to.
So I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. I've always loved animals ever since I was born, really. The first kind of step I took into the animal industry, I started pet sitting just for friends, family. Then I started doing it professionally. My first experience other than that was in a pet shop when I was quite young. I think I was 17. That was very interesting. That was very eye-opening. I worked for a lady. She was a little crazy.
Was it eye-opening at the time or eye-opening in hindsight or both?
I think both. I saw a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have seen. And it was kind of, I would say, a negative experience. It was a pet shop who did grooming, and the lady also, she bred a lot of animals. So she bred a lot of puppies and kittens. And, you know, as a young teen going into the animal industry thinking I love animals and then seeing what I did, it was very eye-opening. The breeding industry, it's very dark, I would say. I saw a lot of dead animals and...
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 17.
I think,
wow.
Yeah, that was the first experience of any sort of puppy farm or kitten farming, and it really shocked me. So after that, I got really into volunteering for rescues. The lady who I did the pet sitting with, she did a lot of rescue stuff. So, I did some work with Maggie's Rescue, and it was really good. I think after I started volunteering for rescues, it felt a lot better being in the animal industry. It was a really shock going into loving animals, seeing them all die.
Yeah, welcome to the fucking deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And this lady was crazy. Very verbal abusive to staff and to people who walked into her store. It was really odd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome. Yeah, shit. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, so that was definitely interesting.
Get that one to yourself. You're in a dark place.
Yeah.
So then after that, I worked in dog daycare and grooming. That was fun. Grooming is really hard. You get a lot of hair in places you didn't even realise you could get hair.
What about them anal glands?
Anal glands. It's weird, but very satisfying to do an
Oh, you're a pimple pusher.
Do you know
You're
what?
a pimple popper.
I thought of this. This is what you should do, is go around and offer people to pay you to squeeze anal glands, because no one wants to do it. And if you've done it...
Vets do it.
Yeah,
you
but you
guys
could go
have
to
had,
people's houses.
You guys have had Dr. Audrey here before.
Yes.
She's very good at that because she has little fingers.
That's so good. I'm never going to be able to look her straight in the eye ever again.
Don't look at her.
So all the dogs usually never cry when she does it because I like to call her baby hands.
Brilliant. I'm never going to be able to. Oh my God, this is so good. I love these inside scoops.
Yeah, it's so good.
yeah, so
Never going to shake her hand again.
You don't know where his hand's been. Actually, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Up dog spot.
Yeah, just not very happy with it.
So tell us a bit more about like the grooming side.
So the grooming side, I wouldn't call myself a professional groomer. I would never have called myself. I probably would never say that, but I did a lot of washes and drying, and it's. I think grooming is really important, and I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. Look, some of these dogs, they literally would be useless without it.
Yeah.
You know, bulldogs can't, with their faces and their butts, and curly head dogs, they're going to be pretty screwed. you
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, it's super important. And
Yeah,
it's super important that it's done well.
Yes, exactly. So that was definitely interesting. It was a side of the animal industry I never thought I would get into. I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing a groom. It's satisfying, but it's very dirty, and it's really hard on your body to be a groomer.
Yeah, so you like obviously hunched over a lot of the time.
You're hunched over a lot. It's intense. You know, a lot of the dogs don't like it. The only time I've really been bitten is in grooming, and it's hard because you kind of have to see the animal just be uncomfortable and be stressed, because as a groomer, but also as a vet as well. So I do a little bit of vet nursing at the moment, and it's hard working with Bondi Behaviourist and working through their stresses, and, you know, obviously like desensitizing and doing all the things that we do, and then going into another side where you've kind of got a different view on your job, and you have to just deal with and you just kind of have to push through the stress. So it's interesting looking at all the different sides. The grooming place had daycare as well, and, you know, that was quite fun. But I had no knowledge of any behaviour back then, and looking back, a lot of the dogs probably were a little bit more stressed than what anyone knew, really. I think daycare can be a really good place for some dogs, but maybe not for others. And what I did find was sometimes people would get offended if you said, I don't think your dog is suitable for daycare. It's got nothing to do with your dog at all and it being bad. I just think it's a little bit too stressed to be
You're doing them
here.
a favour. You're actually saying your dog isn't enjoying this.
Exactly.
So we don't want to take your money anymore for something your dog isn't enjoying.
Exactly.
It's not something you should take offence to.
And some people took it really well. They were like, obviously, thank you so much. But others were really, or I would say almost offended.
Yeah. I've worked with a few daycares now, and it's a pretty common thing. It's actually the team members that I'm like working with or training. They always say, well, you know, how do we actually get rid of this dog without offending the owner? It's like, well, first of all, educate yourself on actually understanding why this dog shouldn't be here. Because I can see it. I can see that the dog is stressed, and actually keeping it in that environment really would just fuck around with its head every day. And in knowing that and being so comfortable in knowing that, I can explain it so well to the owner.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I think maybe like daycare staff need a bit more education on that, because
Absolutely.
Agreed.
if they can't have that conversation, it means they don't fully understand it.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was there for 5 years, so it was a mix of grooming and daycare and walking. Towards the end of that point, I knew that I wanted to get into dog training, and I didn't realize that at the time dog training was obviously working more with behavior rather than sit, stay.
Yeah.
Let's teach you a trick. You know, obviously it makes so much sense now that we're not just working with how to sit, you know. And so at the end of it, when I met Ian, I actually met Ian there at daycare place.
We had a share client from the... No, that's right. I was looking for a house sitter for one of my clients who... so I asked Iyona. I was asking around, asked one of the daycares, and Iyona put her hand up. So in coming in and doing this house sitting, the client was also asking me to come in and help Iyona, because they were young puppies. come in and teach Iyona, as much as I could about how to manage these number of puppies.
There were a number.
How many?
At one point, I think there was 8.
I think. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there was 8.
There was 4 when we started, and then
4 when we started. Then we added 3. Then we added 2. Then we minus 2.
Yeah, it went up and down a lot.
And that equals.
I think it was 8.
Yeah.
It was 7 or 8.
Were they different breeds or?
They're all pet shop poodles and mixes, and
Wow.
yeah, it was a real. It was a lot of dogs.
I mean, it was fun.
It was, and so me and Iona used to rock up once a week, twice a week, and I'd teach Iona about dog behavior and dogs in a group scenario. Basic training was simple. Iona's worked with dogs at this point for many years. She understood how to train. But seeing that many dogs in a group dynamic, and then I think, if I'm right in saying, like, it kind of watching those dogs interact and us going through that behavior, then you started shedding light on what you were seeing in daycare environment as well.
Absolutely. I mean, at the time, I already knew that I wanted to reach out to a trainer. And so then I met Ian. No, it kind of all just fell into place. And a lot of the time we were talking about the 7 puppies and what they were doing. Yes, absolutely. It shed a lot of light because you had 7 different individual personalities that, dealt with things very differently. And yeah, I took it back to daycare, and it really helped noticing what was going on, really kind of breaking down the behavior in daycare and the different individual personalities. So it was good.
Yeah, and that's it. In that group scenario, and this is what I kind of pass on to daycares, is you've always got to look after the dog that needs the most help at the time. And it's so dynamic, it shifts all the time. And there's a massive difference. This is where I think some of the daycare staff, they struggle because they want it to be nice and pleasant. But there is a big difference between want and need. So as soon as a dog wants to play, but it is upsetting another dog, the other dog needs it to stop. So you have to look after that need. And just because a dog wants to play, it's like, yeah, that's fantastic, but it's also making a decision. And if you're allowing that, you're making a decision that allows others to be really uncomfortable. So something that when I'm teaching daycare staff about is that difference between want and need, and then the body language, what it looks like. And it's hard. And it's really flexible and dynamic, and that's why if you're going to work in that environment, you really do need to know your shit and know what you're looking at and how to respond appropriately without correction and without shouting, because those environments are often so time poor and so highly strung, they end up, you can hear them from down the road. So in some daycares, certainly not the one Iona's talking about, but there's sometimes.
I mean, the good thing about the daycare that I was in is it wasn't just all of the dogs in the room all day every day. They did get out morning and afternoon for a walk, probably at least half an hour. So but in saying that, the group dynamics changed every time dogs left the building,
Or a new one came in.
They did have a rule of only dogs coming in at a certain time in the morning, which was very helpful. But yeah, it changes. The dynamics change so often, so it's just constant. But I think the difficulty was a lot of the staff loved dogs, but more in a dog cuddling way.
Dog cuddler way. I've said this for years.
Yeah.
Some people really, really love dogs. That is not a qualification. All you're good for is dog cuddling.
Yeah.
If you're going to go and work with dogs, like dog walkers included, go and actually study what dog behavior is. Because going and quitting your office job because you like dogs and going working with it is not a qualification. Piss a lot of people off saying that, but it's true.
Yeah, I've learned so much going through my qualification and even working with other trainers and sitting in on classes or sitting in on training consults. You learn so much more. So it's really important.
Because they're really subtle. And and there's a lot of shit information out there, like we've covered in the first few episodes. It's, you probably, and there's like that Ignore My Dog campaign with Lewis Nichols over in New Zealand, and I think I saw a post last week or the other week, and he's like, look, if you approach a dog on the street assume that you know nothing about that dog. If
Yeah, I saw that.
if you ask the owner, assume they know nothing about their own dog.
I saw that too.
It's like,
But it is true. It's very
Yeah.
true. I do agree with that.
yeah, it's because we see it all the time. Like there's studies, aren't there? Like before the age of 7, a child doesn't know how to respond appropriately to dog body language. I call bullshit. I reckon like any adult doesn't really, unless you've studied and actually know what you're looking at.
I think because there is a lot of misinformation out there of how to approach a dog.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh,
let's just
definitely.
stick my hand in its face.
yeah. Just give it a pat on the head and hope it tolerates it. I would not.
Even anyone who's listened to this podcast as well, like I've had some clients listen to it and go, oh, my dog's been doing that, or I've been doing that. And I'm like, I'm so glad that we're getting that education out there to other people.
Like our friend Kelly on Saturday. So she's walks onto the street and there's 2 dogs there, and she just bowls in and like just straight pats this dog on the head. And luckily she picked the good one, because I looked at the other the owners of the dogs, and that one was not loving it but tolerating it. But the other dog, all of a sudden the owners have pulled the lead up, start removing it, and there's a fear of God that this lady is going to come over.
Oh dear.
It's like, do not come near me. It's like, don't throw your hands in dogs' faces.
I mean, it happens a lot, we're training dogs on the street and people always approach. I've got some crazy dogs.
Not Doug.
My own dog is crazy in a different way, but, a lot of the dogs that I train are fearful, or, they have behavioural problems. That's why they're here, and that's why I'm, doing all the rehabilitation work with them. And people all the time either approach with their dogs or approach themselves, and no matter what you tell them, they don't listen. I'm in training, please, get away from me.
Oh yeah, but I fucking love dogs, mate. I'm just going to jump in your face now.
But I'm good with dogs.
The one I hear all the time.
He's friendly.
But all dogs love me. I'm like, not this one.
Put your hand in this dog's face and test that theory, mate.
I'm saving you right now. If you try and pat this dog, he's going to bite you. I'm telling you.
My dog has a muzzle on. It's showing its teeth. I'm pretty sure it doesn't like you. I don't know how much more obvious we can be.
No,
It's like, I think people think we're lying.
Yeah.
Like, this dog doesn't like people. Oh no, he likes me. No. He actually really doesn't.
Yeah.
He's gonna hurt
he really
you.
doesn't. Yeah.
It's also a cultural thing, because you go to some parts of Europe, and if you went and did that to pat, I've got an Australian friend coming back from overseas, and they've gone in to pat some dog on the street, and the owner has literally just stood there and stopped and looked at her and went, "What the fuck are you doing?" As if it was like, because it's not the social norm. But those dogs, the bite rate is so, like in that country, is so much lower because dogs aren't getting tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a cultural thing that we definitely do need to change. I mean, we're a culture of dog lovers,
Yeah.
dog cuddlers.
We are a country of dog cuddlers.
It's
I
true,
think.
but we are not educated.
I mean, it's innocent. It is very innocent. Everybody loves dogs. I get that. I love dogs, but yeah, it's the how to approach it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point of this whole podcast. Is to actually get some information out there to the public, because we want to reduce bite rates. We want to improve the quality of life for pet dogs. We want to decrease problem behaviours, and that comes with knowledge and understanding. Boom. So, to tell us more, what was your main role with Bondi Behaviourist?
So I am one of the trainers at Bondi Behaviourist. I do a lot of rehabilitation, walking and training, puppy school when I have the time, but very time poor all the time. So.
Well, you're a busy lady studying full time,
Yes. Doing
your role with Bondi Behaviourist and working with Audrey.
Yes, so I also work with Dr. Audrey at Aussie Mobile Vet, 1 to 3 days a week.
Depending on how much I want to ruin my life that week.
Precise.
How many anal glands I want to touch.
Oh gosh. And you're studying.
And I'm
Man,
studying.
what?
Yes. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. We like having busy, productive people on the team.
I am, yes, very busy all the time. And I have a social life. Somehow. And I have a puppy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, going forward, we're looking at getting you into more and more one-on-one consultations as a training. Not so much behavior issues in terms of aggression, anxiety, but we want to drop you in and start getting you doing one-on-ones with recall and puppies and house visits, which is pretty exciting.
I'm very excited. I have to say, before getting the puppy, obviously I could train dogs and, all the dogs that I have had.
It's another thing living with it, isn't it?
Yes. That was what I was trying to get to. It is another thing living with a puppy. I realized that a lot of the time when I was training and talking to the clients, in puppy school, my puppy has a problem with mouthing. And so always telling them this is what you should do, and then having a puppy and trying all those things. And yes, it kind of worked, but it's really different.
You've got to be able to apply everything practically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot of problem solving all day, every day.
yeah.
Well, you were in my puppy school. So Iyona sat in on puppy school that I taught. And you even came in on the second week and you were like, wow, like Doug's biting, Doug's mouthing, like I'm so stressed. And you were exactly like the other owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew what to do, but having a puppy there biting all the time, it's like,
Stressful.
oh my goodness. Like I actually now know what the owner's talking about because I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a crazy thing.
I actually went round Iona's house and we sat down for an hour or so because it was for all the theory in the world. It's like, well, shit, this dog is actually, because Doug's a little Barry when Barry's fucking ultra mode kicks in.
So we have Douglas, which is like very calm, sedate. Snuggles also is another name. Or we have Barry, and Barry does zoomies and mouths and bites and jumps and barks and does all that.
Barry warms up and then Barry starts mouthing your hands.
Was Barry the seal that we heard in class the other week? When he does his seal bark?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's Bazza.
He sounds like
For the
a
record,
seal.
this is all the same dog, but he has multiple personalities.
I've never heard that bark before. I was like, Iyona, what was that? That's like a seal.
He's not
He's so much better
extremely.
now.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a lot better now.
But at that
But
point,
he still has his days, you know. He's still young. He's only 9 months.
well, what happens when the dog starts to really ramp up like that? It makes you flustered, so it makes you panic, and then it makes you not actually think. And applying all the theory in the world is not that easy when you can't think. And so,
And then having my partner or friends there who are panicking, I'm like, oh my God. I'm not usually one to easily panic, but then having that.
no, you're like the
Yeah.
immovable object, like you just are an absolute rock. And so when I get
You were literally my rock. I call you. I'm like, Iyona, oh my God, this happened. And she's like, okay, just calm down. It's okay. And I'm like, thank God you're here. Thank God I can call you and call on you because you are my rock, man. Oh my God.
when I get the phone call from Iyona saying I'm struggling, I'm like, well, shit.
Well, yeah, she's struggling. Usually she's the calm one.
'Cause, so we had to come round, and it was like, and that's where a trainer for anyone comes in and offers an outside perspective, because when you're in the thick of it, you're screwed. And so even I try. I'm not the best at taking advice, but I'll try to listen to others' advice when it comes to Django and things like that, because you see it all day, you normalize it. But yeah, going around and helping Barry with his biting or mouthing, like from my point of view, I walked in and went, oh yeah, do this. Oh, thank God. Like it gradually got a bit better. It gradually got better. But it wasn't an overnight thing either.
It wasn't an overnight. I mean, because everything that I knew you were supposed to do worked to a certain extent, but not really. You know?
And it was body language as well. And that was, so when you are flustered and when you are panicking, he's mouthing hands. Hands move more than any other body part. And so when he's mouthing them, they flinch, and it's not voluntary, and then they move really fast, and the added movement adds stimulation, and then it's just fuel to the fire.
And he has needle teeth.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but he did.
Yeah. And
He would make everyone bleed.
Barry sounds like an assassin.
It sounds like a vampire or something. He would make everyone bleed.
It was so bad, but like
He made me bleed my own blood.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Oh my gosh. We need to get a photo of you and Doug up.
Yes.
Oh gosh. He's a legend. He's a legend. I love him.
That's it. And so going back to that, sorry, we just had to apply your theory, but you also had to, while knowing what you know, then relearn how to move your hands in the moment under pressure. Not easy. This is why puppy owners struggle.
Puppies are hard, but they're cute.
Yeah.
They always say it's like time, money, consistency, and space. That's pretty much what you need if you own a puppy. Do you agree?
Yeah. And you need to invest in them. Like I've said this, I used to say this a lot more when I was training puppies, but one way or another, getting a dog is hard work. You either make it hard work or you put in the work.
Exactly.
One way or another, it's work though.
Yeah. If you put it in from the start, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier in the future.
And look, I have to give him credit. He's actually pretty good. But obviously, knowing what I know and doing what I do, maybe
You got a bit high standards?
I'm a little bit hard on him.
You've got
Maybe.
holding him up so that he's just, you must do this. This is my job.
Be the perfect dog.
Yeah, I guess
dog.
I don't really realise until people come over and they comment, he's pretty good.
At which point you're like, yeah, of course.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm just so good.
Or the other comment is, no thanks to Trent.
Oh, Trent, that's why you had to come to puppy school, right?
Yeah.
I had to tell him.
I sent Trent, my partner, to Sophie's puppy school alone without me so that he could, have...
Someone else tell him.
Have an experience. Yeah, well, everyone knows if your partner tells you or if somebody else tells you something, who are they going to listen to more?
Yeah.
Not their partner.
Every single time, without fail.
Yeah.
That's why we try and get both parties, of the couple at puppy school or to attend training because, we'll write up the consult and we'll send you notes, but if you didn't see it, then you're getting 50% of the information.
Exactly. So, I guess because I knew what I was doing, I was like, I would like him to just experience something with the puppy, because I do a lot of training with him. I'm the
Yeah, but your bird likes Trent more so. This is Iyona's like an absolute animal lover. This is what I love about it. It's like loves birds, loves cats, absolute bird geek. Like but all animals.
Yes, all animals. I'm not just dog only. I am all animals. Always have been. So yeah.
Bit of a geek.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm okay
But
with
that's
that.
why the vet nursing goes really well with you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
to experience all kinds of different.
A lot of exposure to different types of animals. Mostly really feral angry cats, but that's okay.
Oh, nice.
I accept. My arms, a few scratches on them. That's okay.
Good.
Lucky it's a love job.
And
Well, go on.
and you're going to be on a TV show soon too.
Yes. So Douglas Pepper, my bird, and I will be on Bondi Vet soon.
The coast to coast.
The Coast to Coast. Yeah. I think it airs next weekend.
It's probably going to be aired by now.
Yeah.
Wow.
A date, please. Date.
It's already aired in Canada and somewhere else. No idea.
You're famous.
Do not watch it.
We're going to share it.
Yeah. I'm on it too, so can you be on it together?
Sophie's crying
Are you guys on the same episode?
I don't think
so. No.
Wait, you came out in Canada and you didn't watch it?
No, I've already watched my draft, so
Oh, brilliant.
not showing you.
I don't think I could watch my draft. I'd probably cry.
You cry every week at the moment. Every week we're in it.
I'm an emotional person.
We do need some tissues for you.
Yeah, I watched the draft, and Doug is tiny.
Yeah, that photo. He's
So
like a
small.
little
He's
Bob.
really little.
When I saw him last week,
Oh, yes.
geez, he walked into the group session. I'm like, oh shit, he big.
Yeah,
Oh, he's big.
he's 30 kilos now.
He's a lump.
Wow.
And he's a real snuggle bug.
Yeah,
Aw.
yeah, he's a legend. He's such a nice dog, though. He really is. And he really does mean well.
He does. He has hyperarousal issues, is what we would call it. That's okay. We're working on it.
Yeah, and for everyone out there, all that is when he sees information moving really fast or another animal, his adrenaline spikes really, really, really easily, and that's genetic. You can't fight that. That's what we're going through, and so his whole upbringing is about letting him build relationships with friends, learn really solid communication patterns, and start to normalize information. And it's working. He's getting better and better and better.
He's getting a lot better. And I think, definitely owning a dog has really taught me a lot, because you do really look at all of the client's issues. I used to take a lot of the admin calls for Bondi Behaviourist when I had a little bit more time. And so I spoke with a lot of the people who booked in and all the problems they were having. And yeah, I think one thing that I have really learnt is it's almost like, and I get that everyone does it, you want to do what you want to do and not what's good for the dog. So I would love to take Doug off lead. I've always just wanted a dog to take off lead, and I did that once.
Never again.
And never again. He is so obsessed with other dogs. He ran, I did not even see a dog, but somewhere far, far along the horizon, he saw it and he legged it, and I could not. There was nothing that was going to get him back. Like, he was little at this point, but he was so excited, jumping all over the other dog. The other dog was growling at him, But in that moment of excitedness, Ian likes to call it, or we all like to call it, the red zone, he wasn't listening to anyone, me, the dog, anything. He was just in Barry.
Full Barry.
Lizard
Barry.
brain.
Yeah.
So with him, I strip it back a lot, and we do a lot of on-lead stuff, and work on recall, in-home, out of the home, with distraction, no distraction. And yeah, I think it's really important. It's really underlooked, I think. And it's not until I got a puppy that, you really realise things like this.
But what you've done is listened to your dog and gone, this is where he's at. This is what I'm going to do with him. And I'm going to, you've got your goals. You've got your training goals of one day it'd be really nice to have Doug. We never want Barry off lead.
No, no, Barry off lead is terrible. But I think one day, and I keep having to say it to Trent because we're both like, oh, we wish. But, I know that dogs can come a long way, like from what, a lot of the dogs that we take on. Exactly. A lot of the dogs that we take on, they do really well, and there's no time limit. How long is a piece of string? But I know that eventually, hopefully.
Well, that's it. And the other end of the scale is letting them off the deep end. And like you said, when Doug ran off to that other dog, and he's getting growled at, that's a negative experience for Doug.
Exactly.
So that actually compounds the problem. And we all want it to go well, but Barry's in that dog's face. And that dog's literally going, mate, I do not want you here. Get away from me. And all that does is it compounds like all Barry wanted, so Doug wanted, was feedback from that other dog. Like, hey, how you doing? When he gets there, he's super uncomfortable because he doesn't actually speak dog very well. And then he starts fiddling and bouncing around, just like a nervous talker running around in the other dog's space.
He's a nervous player.
Yeah. And the other dog then goes, mate, you need to calm down. But every time he gets told off, that makes Doug really more nervous. And the more nervous he gets, the more comfort behaviors he does. And his comfort behavior is play.
Yeah, can you just go through that? Play as a comfort behavior? Because I think we see that a lot.
Yeah, okay. So when a dog is made uncomfortable, that nervous center turns on. We talked about that in the dog's mind episode. And they'll begin to fiddle. And other descriptions would be comfort behaviors or displacement behaviors. So fiddle behaviors are the dog's involuntary response. Well, they're all involuntary, but the involuntary responses to communicating them uncomfortable. And displacement and comfort behaviors are where the dog will do something to make itself feel better. And play feels good. It releases endorphins. It's really nice and fun. Doesn't mean it's always appropriate. Just because it's like, oh, he's being friendly, doesn't mean it's always appropriate. So when a dog is made uncomfortable, sometimes we see a dog revert to play as a involuntary response.
That's Doug at all times.
Yeah, it's his go-to. He sniffs. You literally watch Doug. He is like clockwork. Mm-hmm. So another dog comes over to his space and he's okay. He sniffs. You watch him. Information literally, you can almost watch it channel up the nose into his brain. He freezes, and then he plays.
Yep.
You're watching the information overload. You're watching the information spike his adrenaline center, and then him go, I actually don't know what to do with that. Shit.
He does it with every living creature he's ever met.
And
Person, bird, rat.
And because he's a nice dog, as in, and what I mean by that, I always describe dogs that don't have a fight response as a nice dog. But he doesn't go full fight flight, but he is super uncomfortable, but he's playing. So we think a lot, and I can see how so many people would go, oh, he's just being friendly. And it's so,
I
the
think
dog
he
is
gets
so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
It's
like the nervous talker.
I do always call it the nervous talker.
He's exactly like that.
It's like, hey, it's like that chick at the party. It's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, no, really good. Have you seen the weather? All right, Mary, calm down. Fuck.
Mary, jeez.
That's Barry.
Yeah.
Barry's like, let's play. Oh my God.
And then you see the other dog on the other end of the scale. You see that dog that goes into a freeze response and then growls is actually just as uncomfortable. The player is just as uncomfortable as the growler. But one of them, neither one is understood because the player was like, oh, he's friendly. The growler gets reprimanded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Both dogs are getting it's set to fail, essentially. So, with education, we can really help dogs because we're seeing Doug get better and better and better.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I know he's getting better, but I can't really tell that because obviously I train him all the time and I do everything. But my partner, Trent, he takes him for most of the walks. Besides the training that I do with him when I bring him to work, Trent after work will take him for the walks and, he comments, Doug is improving a lot.
And if Trent can see it, that's great.
That's great.
Yeah. That means Trent's come a long way.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It was actually
Pleasure.
much more pleasurable than I thought it was going to be.
We love Iyona. We're
Thanks.
just joking. This is our banter.
This is why I love my team. You all know that, but they're just good humans first.
Yeah, so true. And this is why I snuck in.
You've still got to prove yourself a little bit, but
Get out.
Thank you so much for coming in. I will probably see you in the next 20 minutes. That's it for today, folks. And remember, a healthy dog's a happy dog.
Woo.
And that was the pod.